I heartily endorse this event or product.
Ahoy, hoy, everybody, and welcome to Talk to the Audience, where this is always death. I am one of your hosts, the guy who's hoping they close out the Simpsons movie trilogy before I'm 70, Bob Mackey, and who is here with me today, as always?
Already lined up to be first in the theater for it in 2027, Henry Gilbert.
And yes, welcome to Talk to the Audience. This is our community podcast. It launches at the end of the month on Patreon, the beginning of the month on the free feed. And in this podcast, we talk about what's happening in the Simpsons world, what's happening in our world, and then we go over the last month's worth of comments and questions that were posted on the Patreon. And yes, we mentioned it up front. This is a huge news month. This news launched right after our last Talk to the Audience went live, so very rude on the part of the Simpsons staff. But yes, the Simpsons movie sequel was announced on September 29th of this year, and it will open on July 23rd, 2027, 4 days short of the 20th anniversary of the original Simpsons movie. It took them 20 years. We don't know anything about what this movie will be, but this is the beginning of, let's say, 20 months of coverage.
Yeah, it's taken me back to 2005 through 7 of just the hype train for the Simpsons movie felt endless. Like, it was ads everywhere. I wonder if they will have as many like takeovers and tie-ins and all that. Will this be Deadpool and Wolverine levels of advertisements for it?
I know it's going to be fueling this news section for the next 2 years, not just with news about the movie, but, oh, there's a new soda or there's a new Burger King promotion, etc. I'm looking forward to more enthusiasm about The Simpsons worldwide as they launch this new movie.
Now, people pointed out this was another like Simpsons predicted it, where they did the joke was on the chalkboard. The first episode after the movie was, I won't wait 20 years to make another movie. And now they did. They did wait 20 years.
I guess technically they waited 17 years to make the first one, if you don't count Tracy Ullman. If you count Tracy Ullman, it almost was 20 years because Tracy Ullman's April of 87? They debuted on that show, and then the movie is July of 2007.
I'm also not ready for 2007 to be called 20 years ago, but that's a whole other thing.
That's a recurring issue on this podcast. Time moving in a linear direction.
I think this has been rumored for forever. In a 2010 episode of Futurama, the joke was Bender asks about a Simpsons sequel movie and Matt Groening shoots him. That's how much they have been asked about a sequel every year since the movie came out.
Yeah, I feel like when they made that Futurama episode, they were still so wounded from the production of the film, they didn't even want to think about a sequel. Now they're ready, although it's going to feature much of the same staff, and they're all 20 years older, and they weren't exactly young when the first movie was released. No offense, guys. So I'm wondering how they are getting ready for another arduous production. Maybe it's going to be easier this time because it's not the expectation of, oh my God, it's the first movie, we can't get anything wrong.
I'm now thinking about how we're deep in the production of the movie in our timeline now as we're starting up season 16 on The Simpsons. And I think about how we're hearing Al Jean on the commentary saying, I barely remember this. We were working so hard on this. And the Treehouse of Horror 15 is kind of a test episode for a lot of stuff they were working on in the movie. Now I'm thinking about how now Al Jean for years now has been working with David Silverman on all of those advertorial junk on Disney Plus. Was that the same kind of warming up testing ground for the movie to production?
Yeah, and we've been curious why Al Jean's role has been reduced on the show itself, and now it seems maybe he is a major role on the film.
That's now my, his critic thing, where it seemed like he was trying to restart the critic. Maybe there was some question if he'd be in charge of the film or not, or at least in an executive producer situation, but this could be wrong. But I would think that Al Jean, you'd move him off of, instead of him trying to run the show at the same time like he did 20 years ago, it's no, you're the movie guy, Selman's the TV show guy, and especially since Gene is working on film-ish quality animation with Silverman on some of those shorts, I could see that, that same workflow transitioning there, I could see.
And it's a big time for James L. Brooks because we are on the brink of Ella McKay mania. Hope you're ready, folks. It's going to sweep the nation. In the notes here, Henry, there were rumors that Ella McKay and the Simpsons Movie 2 were part of a package deal for Brooks.
Yeah, that was one rumor had it, and nobody ever followed up on it, but it was like for James L. Brooks to, get funding for a theatrically released movie, which after How Do You Know, What'll You Do, How's It Gonna Work, that movie.
You got to do it.
You got to do it. After that was a flop, you don't trust millions of dollars to a guy like that. But if his exchange is, okay, I will allow the Simpsons Movie 2 to happen, then Disney gives him the money. Now that the Simpsons 2 has been greenlit, it does feel like more possible. I would hope at least some people ask Jim Brooks about that and Julie Kavner if they are doing, the typical press tour for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we can only speculate at this point. I am cautiously optimistic about this. I will be seeing it. It's going to be fun to see this as a Simpsons podcaster now. I certainly wasn't that in 2007. I'm just hoping that the animation quality is on par with the film. I hope they're going above and beyond what we're currently seeing on the TV show. And I hope Disney doesn't screw them over on a budget, because Disney, despite all of their money, despite The Simpsons being such a big hit for them, they are clutching the purse strings. They're pulling them tighter every year.
And it was in 2007, it was a joke in a trailer or multiple trailers that this is not a 3D CGI movie, that this is 2D. And the Bob's Burgers movie also got to be 2D, and it was a COVID release, so you can't really compare its success. But will Disney, I don't want them to make it a 3D CGI film, but will Disney actually let a real budgeted Simpsons animated movie be released theatrically in 2D? I wonder.
I really hope so, because it's going to be one of the rare 2D animated movies in theaters in the past, let's say 20 years. It's not from Japan.
Yes, that isn't produced overseas. It's the only American production. Yeah, I also was very confused by how it was announced, because it was clearly not Simpsons people announcing it. When I was reading back up on it, it was no, this was announced because, as all things happen now, really the only audience that matters are stockholders. And at a stockholder meeting for Disney, where they were showing their next 2 years of movies, there was unnamed MCU movie that was slotted in for July 2027. And they're like, oh, that's been dropped. The Simpsons Movie 2 is in there. And people go wait, there's a Simpsons Movie 2? It's just on a film slate?
Yeah, it felt like there should have been more pomp and circumstance behind this announcement, but I guess this is just how it shook out.
And that teaser poster is just it's the original Homer reaching for the donut teaser poster, except they moved it slightly,
Yeah, there's a grease stain left behind by the donuts, and Nina was positing that the grease stain and the donut kind of make a pair of Simpsons eyes. So there's a visual gag there.
Her
Very
drawing
subtle.
for it really sells that.
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. And also, none of the articles had quotes from the team. I also do wonder, have they sewn up Harry Shearer to do the movie? Will it be a Shearer-free movie? I have questions about casting the cast and the staff.
After the failure of Spinal Tap 2, maybe he thinks, oh man, can you please make Mr. Burns the villain this time? I'm totally game.
I'm pretty open now, guys. Yeah.
But yes, we will be following the news as it happens. So outside of the movie, other things are going on in the Simpsons world. For example, broadcast season 37 began at the very end of September with the season premiere, Thrifty Ways to Thieve Your Mother, which posits that Marge is now a 90s teen who loved a Dawson's Creek-style show, and Lisa is now raiding her old clothes and becoming a fashion magnate, and then falling in with the wrong crowd, who then raids the homes of other 90s parents around the neighborhood. So, I mean, we have to get used to this. We have to stop complaining about this or stop talking about how old we're getting. But now, not only are Marge and Homer 90s teens, so is Chief Wiggum and Martin Prince's parents. They all were born in the early 80s at this point.
This is the most that Martin Prince's mother has had a plot point in the show, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's oh, she has a name. That's right. But I did really like this one. I'm able to overlook the aging down of the characters because they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And I've just gotten used to it at this point. But it was a kind of very subtle season premiere, just a Lisa Marge story. And I loved all of the 90s stuff, the 90s fashion. This is all late 90s stuff, by the way. So 90s fashion, the Dawson's Creek parody. I know you watched Dawson's Creek
Oh, yeah.
Henry. I'm sure all of this really spoke to you.
It was an extremely accurate parody, and they even went to the trouble of like making a parody opening song, their version of I Don't Want to Wait. I also love when the animators get to do a ton of designs of like costuming and changing up the outfits of characters. Like it shows that their skill as designers for all the different like looks that Lisa and Marge are serving in this episode.
I mean, I was a teen back then. I recognize all of these clothes. I'm like, okay, this checks out. So they did their research, or they simply were alive then.
I watched a video. I saw a TikTok of this guy who was commenting on somebody else's TikTok of a girl, basically a young woman now in her 20s, wearing 90s clothes like that. And she was wearing like low-rise jeans. And she's like, I feel like my ass is falling out of the jeans. And then the guy was like, he was telling her, you're not even wearing them as low as like Britney Spears wore them then. And you're forgetting you're supposed to wear a color-coded pair of underwear with it that pops out of the top of it.
You need the whale tail, as it's called.
Yes. And
that's how it works.
the episode also brought in Cola Scola for the first time, an actor I really like.
He played like this chaotic gay on Difficult People, correct?
Yes, they did. Yes.
Oh, they did. I apologize. I didn't know the gender there.
Cole now is an even bigger deal because they just had the Tony-winning play Oh Mary that's like the hit of Broadway now. I bring it up too as Cole playing Devin because then that character had a speaking role in the next episode that I was like, wait, is this just becoming like a regular on the show now?
When Devin appeared again, I thought like, oh, this is odd because he is now just mixed in with the regular Springfield classmates and he has a much more modern design.
Now he's going to be challenging. That character is the biggest sissy in school now from Lisa in the military school. God, why can't I remember that character's name?
Oh, I forget that character too. Was he a one-off?
Yeah, he was a one-off. But
it's sort of like that Rex character that was Ralph's rival for acting in the play.
The Stewie Griffin type. But
yeah, Stewie Griffin type. That's who he was. So yeah, I did like that season premiere. And I also like Keep Chom and Gary On, where it's a lot about AI and the nightmare of being a teacher in a world with AI, and also about Superintendent Chalmers when he loses his job. And I thought this was going to be a manosphere thing. That's kind of what the description was selling it as, but it's really about men's beauty and men's health and the hucksters in that world.
It does seem like coming up next weekend is a more manosphere episode that almost seems, while the images make it seem like it's going to be a little like that King of the Hill manosphere episode from the new season. Yeah.
But yeah, I only get little glimpses of this men's healthcare world, men's beauty world from ads that are served to me on Instagram, ads that are given me on Facebook. And it's all about like, yes, for decades, we've made women feel insecure about their looks. Now it's your turn, men. It's equal opportunity cash grab for all genders. And it's all about, does this have protein in it? Does this have testosterone in it? How many creams are you putting on your faces? Honestly, folks, you just need a good moisturizer every day. That's it. That's all you need. But people are preying on insecurities. Chalmers becomes one of these guys when he discovers magical snails. And then Chalmers, he's a good guy. He has reservations about this, and he eventually leaves this world for good. So I love Chalmers, and I thought this was a great Chalmers episode.
I also like that it takes like a real world thing of these radioactively enlarged snails that are like underneath the nuclear power plant. And I did also like the AI stuff of just that it just turns into AI. It actually felt like ahead of the curve because I feel like there were news stories after this episode aired of like in colleges, people use AI bullshit to write an essay, and then the teachers then use it to grade the essay, and it's just computers talking to each other.
It's sort of like what the internet is now. It's robots posting things for robots to respond to.
Yeah, it's a great future we got here. It's really good.
Hey, one thing's coming in the future, a new Simpsons movie. I'm excited. And then we had Treehouse of Horror 36. This aired a week ago as of this recording, and it's written by a trio of writers, which has been the case since every Treehouse of Horror since 34. There was a single writer for a very long time. Now they're back to a trio. And here's the thing. I liked the season premiere. I liked the Chalmers episode. I thought this was a kind of a weak Treehouse of Horror. And while I like the Kelly Sicko opening, I did like the middle segment. But my main issues here, Henry, the first segment is a Jaws and a Blob parody. Well, number one, they've already parodied the Blob. That's fine. They can do it again. But there is enough material in Jaws to do an entire episode-length parody. Why do we need to bring in the Blob? And also, I have no problem with Lou, but he is such a non-distinct straight man that it is weird to make Lou, Officer Lou, the focus of the Jaws parody. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a strange choice to have Lou be the lead, though. Maybe that was just their way of like, well, what haven't we done before in this? Like, well, I guess Lou is the main character. Also, I was on Eddie watch there of like, will Eddie say anything? No, he does.
No.
He screams, but he doesn't talk.
I don't know if that was even Harry Shearer's scream.
And on the year of the 50th anniversary of Jaws, it's like, boy, to mix it with the Blob, at least the goo was very well animated. I thought it was well done goo. Also, I kind of like that they mixed in that Homer becomes like a boss hog type character, so it's another 70s movie is kind of rolled in there.
Too many things were happening at once in this parody. Again, I wish they would have just stuck with, like in the old days, or at least in the first 20 plus years, let's just parody one thing in one segment. This was a little too busy. I did like the middle segment because I did enjoy the movie Late Night with the Devil. This is a parody of that semi-recent movie. And Nina and I were watching this, and we both had the idea like, oh, just put the 90s filter over all the new episodes, because this kind of aesthetic, it makes it feel more like The Simpsons we like. Even though the writing is modern, the animation is modern, the CRT TV aesthetic really makes the show pop in a way that is purely psychological for us old people.
Absolutely. The second it got into the old aspect ratio, even, I said to my husband while we were watching it, I was like, oh, this just instantly got me to like this more because it's in the old aspect ratio, just like the fake flashbacks to season 2 or 4 episodes that they did in the season before.
Yeah, and they try to make the animation a little more like the old seasons. It's not completely accurate, but I'm like, again, if you can do this, why can't you just do it all the time?
Though the devil was very modern Simpsons animated in how much he was moving.
Yeah. I guess my main complaint about modern Simpsons is there's just like too much gesticulating and popping when that's not like what I like. Strong poses, and I feel like they often overcompensate with too many frames or too much movement, and it just doesn't look like the Simpsons I prefer.
Though I haven't seen that movie. Now I'm going to watch that movie more likely. But my biggest laugh in the episode was the ending to that one, that even the devil couldn't defeat the drift of television cord.
Yes, the executive asking, like, what's the why now of this property? And Krusty just going, ugh.
You know, I liked the animation gimmick of the post-apocalyptic plastic thing.
Now, see, there was a lot of discourse on animation Twitter. Twitter still exists, by the way, and people are still posting there about this third segment because it was posited that the same people who did the 3D animation also did the 2D animation in this segment because the 2D animation is the puppetiest things you've ever seen on The Simpsons in terms of how the characters move. So that element was very distracting. The 3D characters were fine, but again, like the first segment, this is very busy. And I am also questioning a Waterworld parody in the year of our Lord 2025, although Waterworld 1995, this is sort of like The Simpsons making fun of Planet of the Apes in the 90s. There's no real difference here, but still, I don't know why they were going for this at this point in time.
They made fun of Waterworld when it was brand new in Radioactive Man and in Waterworld, the arcade game.
Yes.
Well, and kind of like the Jaws blob thing, they also shoved it together with, Bart calls her a parody of Furiosa, but it's kind of just like a general Mad Max parody, too.
Yeah, it's called Plastic World, but it's also Mad Max, and I guess there's kind of like a zombie-style element with the plastic people.
I agree with you. I think the middle one was at least I liked it being a throwback to all of the junk that Simpsons has created. Like, Simpsons has filled multiple landfills with its own plastic detritus.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I'm surprised there was not a joke like that, but I guess maybe the last shot over the credits of all of the plastic figures under the credits, and they're all Simpsons figures, maybe that is what they're implying. Now, going back to the Kelly's opening, I did like it, but it feels like it came together very quickly because I was not envisioning this Kelly opening to be animated like a 2003 web cartoon, but that's exactly how it played out. And I'm like, well, the drawings are great, but I did not think it would be animated in this style. And again, I think this just was something they had to throw together very quickly. So while I like the jokes, and while it's very on brand for the Stan Kelly cartoon persona, I thought, oh, I wish you would have animated this a little better.
You know, it makes me think of that interview where Selman talked about how they don't do as many guest couch gags as they did like 5-10 years ago. And, maybe it was like literally Disney cut their guest animator budget. And so that's why this is like looks cheaper.
Yeah, I think they cut the couch gag budget because there's a Real Jim's video that came out in the past couple of months that shows the decline of couch gags and that they're not really an element anymore. And the chalkboard gag is dead.
Yeah,
completely.
No matter how it's animated, though, the picture of Matt Groening as the sicko, I really like. And it was a classic Kelly joke of like joking about how Simpsons is a 37-year-old show, and it's like,
Yes.
oh, this is the comfort I have.
Yeah, Matt Groening animated as a sicko looking through the window. They saved the good animation in that segment for that bit, but it's great. But I'm also wondering, like, how much of the audience actually understands what this is?
Yeah, I wonder how niche is the Kelly cartoons that we've been enjoying for, I got to be at least 15 years from The Onion,
I think
if not
so.
longer, right?
Yeah, how many people see them and don't realize this is a parody of bad political cartoons, and this is not sincere at all?
I think that artist, he should be doing Kelly all of the time, because I think he's at his funniest living in that world of like, my favorite things with Kelly cartoons is when the persona of him comes through that obviously like he's your typical conservative older guy, but it's when it comes through that he's like a big Star Trek fan out of nowhere, like
Yes.
little bits like that I love in the Kelly
Yeah,
shows.
or when he's like trying to work out personal grievances of things that happen to him, or like little
Right.
slights he wants to detail in his comics. It's great. I believe the artist is actually called Ward Sutton. That's
Ward
the name
Sutton,
of the
yes,
artist.
that's his name. Yeah,
who plays Stan Kelly. And man, I wish they would have given Stan Kelly a voice, because, you know, in the corner of his comics, he's always making a snide little remark or like explaining the joke, but they just let the word bubble sit on the screen. They don't actually have, I wish they would have made him say the little snide comment, but whatever. I'm just glad that Ward Sutton got his time in the spotlight, because he's been doing great work for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, they are so behind in air order that we are not in production season 37 yet. The ones that we talked about were episodes 13 to 15 of production season 36. So the season drift has been happening year by year, and I feel like we don't actually get to the production season until the next year. So like, I don't think we'll be in production season 37 until like March.
Yeah, this is like some of the deepest I think they've ever been in. And I think they got like 4 more episodes behind thanks to the delay from the strike that impacted Simpsons less than some live action shows, but still did impact it.
So Matt Groening was the final regular guest on Mark Maron's WTF, and he completed a promise made to Maron over a decade ago. So I did not listen to this, Henry. Now, Mark Maron, he quit his podcast, tarnished his image, in my opinion. But, you know, he's still out there. He's still doing his own thing. He's got a new documentary. What went down on this episode? Did we find out who Matt Groening's guys were?
You know, he didn't do a guy's speech. It was more a podcast about the podcast. It was so funny. Like, Groening's like, wow, so I'm your last guy. And Maron didn't spoil yet who his actual final guest was, which was Obama, President Obama. Who But they did talk about how, like, Groening over a decade ago said to him, "You'll be my only podcast. I'll do a podcast interview with you, Mark." And it never happened for years and years, including, like, I believe when Groening did do our friend Allie and Julia's podcast, he said to them, like, well, I'm breaking my promise to Mark Maron, but I wanted to do your podcast.
You know, the Mark Maron leaving his show thing or ending his show thing is kind of bittersweet, because I have not listened to WTF in a while. I was mainly a fan of the old era, which was the Burying the Hatchet era. Him having people on his show that he had issues with or who he pissed off, and it's the "we good" thing at the end, you know, mending the fences and all that. And then when it became like more of a normal show, I kind of fell off. But then hearing him on Blank Check, I thought, wow, he's such a good podcaster, and I'm very sad that he's leaving. But it's also funny to me, who's been doing this for so long, that all the news stories are Mark Maron leaves his show after 16 years. And I'm thinking, wow, I will be in my 16th year of podcasting next year. Henry, I think you have passed 16 years of podcasting at this point.
I think late 08 was my first, so I'll be hitting my 17th anniversary of the first time I did a podcast. Yeah.
The issue is we started in our 20s. Mark Maron started podcasting in his, I think, early to mid 40s.
Yes, around our age now is when he started. Some of that was coming through in the Groening podcast, which it is that I also was a regular Maron listener, and then even when he started becoming a guy who just like interviewed everybody after Obama, it was just like, oh, he now just is like a stern type figure that everybody goes to promote things. And the things I liked about those era of Maron interviews come through in this Groening one, where it's like he just asks questions and get answers out of them they don't normally get, or answers. But the opposite problem I had with Maron podcast, this was also when he did Joel Hodgson, I remember this bugging me too. It's like, well, you don't really watch The Simpsons, or you didn't really watch Mystery Science Theater, so you're asking like bad questions about that, or you're disinterested in their career, as opposed
Yeah.
to like with Groening, he's like, oh, you were good friends with Frank Zappa, right? 10 minutes of Frank Zappa
Yes.
conversation,
He's not reverent of what they are associated with usually, like with Joel Hodgson or Matt Groening. But then he'll ask questions that yield answers that you will never hear on another interview. Like with the Joel Hodgson one, I remember I found out through that interview he got started as an entertainer by doing magic shows at churches. And I was like, wow, I did not know this about Joel Hodgson, and it just came out in this Mark Maron interview. That's great.
And Maron, he asked him by starting with like, you must have talked about everything. Is there anything you've never said about the creation of The Simpsons? And that I linked to it as a headline of just that he said, oh, well, Homer was partially inspired by this father in this documentary about a restaurant, and that is pretty much out of print, but he's like there. So Homer was also inspired by this guy. But it was just to hear him explain to Maron, like, yes, my dad Homer, and my mom Marge, and my sister Lisa is Maggie, and Maron's like, oh, he didn't know this stuff.
Yes, his mother's maiden name is Wiggum, too.
I also, around the same time, was Groening had done the interview a couple months back, but he did like a CBS This Morning interview. And the funniest part in it was that he did a walk and talk with them. And I was like, oh, that's kind of corny. But then he literally says out loud, yeah, I wanted to do this walk and talk because it feels like it's not a complete CBS Morning interview if you don't do the walk and talk thing.
I got to say one last thing about this. Matt Groening is looking good in his 70s. I think he went on a health kick or something because he really pulled it together. I think he wants to make it to year 60 of The Simpsons.
He at least wants to see the graduation of half of his 38 children, I think.
Yes. Yes, at this point, they're going to form their own colony, the Groenings. They'll all be showrunners. Don't worry, folks.
Yeah, Groening doesn't do too many interviews. Podcast-wise, he did Ali and Julia's Round Springfield podcast. Then he also did Jay Kogan's podcast. This is only his third. And, hey, here's another cool thing about Matt Groening. When he was saying to Mark Maron, he starts by apologizing. I did say this would be my only podcast, but I did 2 other podcasts. And then he says them by name. He could have just said, I did 2 other podcasts. But he names Ali and Julia, and like he remembered them.
Yeah, glad to remember them. Maybe it will be his 4th podcast. Who knows?
cross
Something tells
our
me he's very
fingers.
busy working on a movie.
Again, on the Maron thing, he's done a joke I've heard him say many times, and it's a good joke of just, the fun thing is when you're working on The Simpsons, you can say, oh, I got to go work on Futurama. And when you're at Futurama, you say, got to go work on The Simpsons. And then you just don't do anything.
Yes. Well, yeah, and there's new Futurama, too, which, by the way, I have not seen yet. We can report back in at some point, but I've been very busy, and we've been very busy working on stuff. And also, we're watching a lot of movies at home, and my TV time is limited to new Beavis and Butthead and new Smiling Friends. So once those are done, I will dig into the new Futurama season, the 10 episodes that went live, I believe, in September.
Yes, I also am behind on Futurama. I need to get in, watch it. At the very least, there's a couple episodes in this new season I think I want to see soon, too.
So we are recording this on October 25th, and at this point, a Simpsons Fortnite package is all but confirmed. Many leaks have happened. A huge Springfield map. We've seen the key art featuring Homer, Marge, Bart, Krusty, Ned, and Moe as playable characters. And this is seemingly the November 1st update, so this might be playable by the time you hear this podcast.
I looked it up. Since 2012, the only Simpsons video game was tapped out. There has not been another new thing that is a Simpsons video game. This is what they've been holding off on this whole time. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't consider Tapped Out a video game. It is a system in which you pay money or wait time to unlock references to things. In a way, I'm glad it's dead. And I'm sorry for everybody who invested all of their time and money into it, because I guess that's unrecoverable.
I never touched Tapped Out either. I feared it would become a money toilet for me too, and I have enough money toilets in my life.
I actually wrote about it for OneUp.com when I was working on site there when it launched, and I thought, oh, this is cool. This is like going to be a Sim City, but with The Simpsons. And then I realized, no, I know exactly what kind of a game this is, and I despise this kind of a game.
Then I guess if we're not counting Tapped Out as a game, which I agree with your argument on that, then the Simpsons game was the last game, and that's almost 20 years old now, just like the movie.
Yeah, and you know what? That's going to be a podcast at some point, right? Because there's like at least 2 episodes worth of animated content snuck into that, and that stuff is really funny, I think.
Yeah, once we get 3 more years forward into the summer of 2007 on the show, I think we're going to have like 2 months of things of the movie and the video game and the Simpsons ride. Well, no, the Simpsons ride's 09, so I guess that'll be that.
Every week, a different level. Get ready, folks.
I think that game has at least 30 minutes of original animation in it, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the best stuff. And, I enjoy some elements of Fortnite, but I feel like if you're into this cosmetic DLC, that's great. It is really expensive, in my opinion. So I'll just be watching videos and looking at screenshots, but this is neat. I wish The Simpsons could have its own dedicated game again. Maybe that will happen in the future, but the landscape has changed so much since that time period. And honestly, the Simpsons game was one of the last games to take that form, one of the last movie license games to come out as a boxed product in that way.
This is what 2025 is now, in that if you are what would have been a licensed video game, now instead you make a deal with Epic to be in Fortnite, which is a platform unto itself. Like it is the biggest thing in games pretty much, I think. So that's what this is. The Simpsons, instead of getting a $60 video game, is now getting probably $300 total of DLC you can purchase.
By something everyone plays, and it's not just Fortnite, it's also like Rock Band is snuck in there.
A Lego game too.
Lego
kind
game.
Of.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad to hear about this. I'm curious about like the sound clips they'll be using and things like that. So yeah, I guess look forward to more coverage of this next month. But that is it for Simpsons news. Now let's talk about what's happening in our neck of the woods, specifically our schedule for the month of November. And we've got some fun stuff coming up. So the What a Cartoon for the month of November is all about the Hollywood Dog pilot. Now, you might be asking, Bob, what's Hollywood Dog? And I'll say, good question. And I will then say nothing else because you need to know what Hollywood Dog is via this podcast we're releasing at the beginning of the month. It is a live-action animation hybrid that was a pilot made for Fox. And Hank Azaria is the titular Hollywood Dog in his first starring role, I believe, ever in a production like this. It may be his sixth credit on IMDb, period.
It is very interesting. We've recorded it, and I learned quite a lot. It is quite a relic of its time. It is an important part of Simpsons history as well. We explain all of that connective tissue. Bob did a lot of great history on that one.
It's a weird curiosity, and it does directly tie into the launch of The Simpsons, and in my opinion, it does explain why Hank Azaria ended up as a voice actor on that show. So please look forward to it as we explain to you what the hell Hollywood Dog even is. And then for our $5 and up patrons at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons, we have our regular Talking Futurama and Talk King of the Hill episodes. So for Talking Futurama, we have the episode The Tip of the Zoidberg, which finally explains, after 6 production seasons, what the hell's up with Zoidberg? Where did he come from? Well, this episode answers that question, how he has a legacy that goes back many, many years with Dr. Hubert Farnsworth.
Yeah, it's an interesting installment in the competing flashback and modern day cutting around, as well as Fry turns into a bunch of cartoon characters. That's always fun.
Yes, he turns into Garfield and a Smurf. We'll tell you all about it very, very soon. And then for Talking the Hill, we're covering the episode Old Glory, an amazing Peggy episode about pre-AI plagiarism, but it is Peggy at her absolute best, and we had so much fun talking about this. And the guest star is Heather Locklear, and what I think is her greatest role, because I don't like her as an actor, but as a voice actor, she's pretty good.
It's also a very timely one about like dangerous or angry xenophobia and jingoism.
Yes, that too, right before 9/11. And then for What a Cartoon Movie, we're doing a live action subject this month. We are covering the immortal 1988 Christmas special, Christmas at Pee-wee's Playhouse. We both love it. We both love Pee-wee. And the recent Paul Rubens documentary, Pee-wee as himself, I think inspired us to cover this for What a Cartoon Movie. There are puppets, there are animation elements, and it's going to be a great time and a chance to talk about the great Paul Rubens and the great character Pee-wee Herman if you were too young to even have been part of Pee-wee Mania, that one decade in history.
It's becoming regular viewing for me during the Christmas season, right up there with other classic Christmas specials. And so this will be so much fun to watch this building made out of fruitcake, by which I mean a very secretly queer TV special that we all enjoyed as innocent children.
Yeah, and based on that documentary, again, very good, I learned that this is what Paul Rubens used to bounce back after the failure of Big Top Pee-wee, a movie I'm tinkering with the idea of watching again, although it really always disappointed me as a kid.
Oh, yeah, this Christmas special does take up a good chunk of the documentary. They don't just, gloss over it very quickly. Nothing's done very quickly. That documentary is so great, too.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, yeah, Pee-wee's Playhouse is great, by the way, and this is the ideal form of it. It is just, everything firing on all cylinders, all these guest stars, and it's about the Christmas holidays. So, yes, that's what we're covering for the month of November on What a Cartoon Movie. Please look forward to it. Now it's time to talk about what we've been playing and watching that's not necessarily related to podcasting. And I have had a semi-busy gaming month, weirdly enough, playing 2 remakes with the number 2 in them. So Yakuza Kiwami 3 was announced recently, and that is the remake of Yakuza 3. And the remake stopped at 2 for a very long time, so I played Yakuza Kiwami 1. And when I got COVID for the first time in 2022, I played through the prologue of Kiwami 2, and I vowed to return to it. 3 years later, I have finished it. And I will say that this is a Yakuza game. You know exactly what I mean when I say that. And I have the patience to play one of these every 18 months. And then I realize my own mortality, and I'm like, no more Yakuza for a while. I'll come back in a bit. But yes, this is a very good remake of a game I have never played. So yes, these Kiwami games are great. They did a very good job remaking them in the Dragon Engine and adding a lot of extra content. And they are just like solid, reliable Yakuza games. Again, you have to kind of know what that is, and this is an example of one of them.
You know, I already did my yearly Like a Dragon game with Pyre Yakuza, which was a slim 50 hours of play.
Yeah, this was a scant 43 hours. And that's only because I kind of did everything.
I've been meaning to play Kiwami 1 and the few Like a Dragon games I haven't played of the Yakuza franchise. And now that they've announced Kiwami 3, I'm feeling the pressure more to play those and finally check off the few of that massive series I haven't played yet. But then by the time I get to that, like, they have like 3 other games from the Dragon Studio as well.
Yeah, they need to stop making so many games because I feel like I played 600 hours worth of Yakuza in my lifetime, but I've only played like 40% of the games, maybe less than that. So not enough time in our lives to play these games, and I'm trying to do it. And I also played through Luigi's Mansion 2. This is the HD remake of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon for the 3DS, a game I purchased within the past 5 years. And I fell off the original 3DS. I decided to go back to the HD version and play through it. And I like it to a point, but I feel like this was the wrong direction for Luigi's Mansion. And Luigi's Mansion 3 is so much of a better game. So it's weird to go from 3 to this. I hate the mission structure. So much of this game is tedious. There's too many extra steps to things. And the boss fights are abysmal in a way that I'm thinking, Nintendo should have been watching you guys closer. What was going on here? Why did they let this ship? And then why did they never fix any of this stuff in the remake? So I was kind of having a miserable time by the end, but I'm happy I got through it for the Luigi's Mansion experience. And now Luigi's Mansion 1 is coming out on the Nintendo Online GameCube Virtual Console, whatever that's called. So that I want to replay. That's a slim 4-hour game. People did not want that in 2001, but it is such a great little experience. And Henry and I, we did a podcast about that way back in like 2018 for Retronauts.
I haven't touched this HD remake of it. I reviewed back when it was called Dark Moon, which was the wrong name for it in America. It should have been called 2 all the time. But I reviewed it, and I remember liking it all right, but I think it lived better on the 3DS in its brief stages, and the tiny rooms I think worked better with the 3D element. But I do remember feeling a little like, this is kind of padded a bit too much. But though the ending cinematic, I actually did really love at the time. I remember really loving it.
Yes, finally, Mario thanks Luigi. He gets his due, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of padding. I don't want to go in too long about this game, but there's a lot of padding, and it's a mission-based structure, and just as you're having fun, they pull you out of the mansion, and then you have to like select a new mission. I never really like that in handheld games. I'm like, if I can just close the system and put it to sleep, why do you need to give me these bite-sized missions? I don't get it. But there was so much padding. It's like, this mission, go to every room and suck up every spider web. Or so many missions are like, chase the dog from room to room, the ghost dog. And then as you're about to fight the final boss, the portal opens to the final boss. You're like, all right, I'm ready to go. Here comes the final boss. Suddenly, all these ghosts shoot out of this portal, and Dr. Egad is like, oh no, the 39 ghosts have appeared in the mansion. Go get all of them. And it's like, okay, I have to do this for 40 minutes before I can fight the final boss. Thank you, game. I didn't need this to be 15 hours long. The original Luigi's Mansion is like 4 hours.
I forgot that last bit when you said that, of like the last bit of like, it's the boss fight. Not really. Like, yes, that was very frustrating then. I forgot about that.
Now, like Luigi's Mansion 3, I think that it's also a little too long, but I was never as frustrated as I was with this one. And now when I see what they're doing with voxels in Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm looking forward to what that will add to future Luigi's Mansion games and future Nintendo games in general. So I'm optimistic about the series. Did not like 2. So moving on to things I've watched, really briefly I wanted to note, I saw Suspiria in theaters, the original one from the 70s, And while I've done this 4 times before, this time I saw it with live accompaniment by the current version of Goblin, which means only one of the original members was present on the stage. But still very cool. Always a fun time when you can see a movie with live instrumental accompaniment, especially if it's the people who wrote the music, or at least one of them.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I am tempted next month in Seattle. They're doing a Muppet Christmas Carol at an orchestra with live accompaniment. Though that's not as punk rock as this, obviously. But
I would totally go to that one for sure, because that's an amazing movie. But yes, this, at least one of the original musicians from Goblin, totally worth it. I also saw the new Toxic Avenger, which was very good. It stars Peter Dinklage as the titular Toxic Avenger. We didn't really talk about the new Naked Gun movie. We both enjoyed the Naked Gun, the new one, right?
oh yeah, it was very funny. I loved it.
But that, in a good way, it felt like a much softer, more sensitive version of the Naked Gun. There were no like offensive jokes. There were no real modern pop culture references. It was all about like kind of good-natured humor. And that's what this is. Despite a lot of gross-out jokes, despite a lot of trauma kind of sensibilities, this really does feel like a modern version of the Trauma movie. It's like, what could Trauma do today in a world where nobody wants the bullshit Trauma did in the past? And it took this movie forever to find a distributor, but it is really good. And for once, we're not seeing a dad movie. We are given a stepdad movie, which I think these are more important in our society.
That's nice. I'm probably going to wait on streaming for that. But I was a big fan of Toxie as a youth, though, yeah, most Trauma films are full of things that you're just like, oh, well, that didn't age great. But the point of Trauma back then was to like cheeky bad taste, and also they would have nudity in them just to be like, well, yeah, we got to sell this movie, don't we? Like, let's get some bare boobs in here.
Yeah, like there's one pair of bare boobs very briefly with a boing noise as they're exposed, and I think they just felt obligated to pay homage to the Trauma legacy with that.
If you were a virgin watching Trauma movies, you would think the breasts actually make a boing sound.
Yes.
Because they used it so much.
Many men were surprised they didn't. And yes, I finally saw K-pop Demon Hunters. I really liked it, and I apologize for waiting so long to watch it. But yes, it is good. The music is great. Now I realize, like, oh, they play Golden at my spin class, and I didn't know this was a K-pop Demon Hunters song. But yes, this really shows, like, this is what kids want. This is the kind of content kids want, and it took a major studio like Sony forever to figure this out. But I think Sony is doing the best job at understanding like what a modern animated movie should be, and it should be things like the new Spider-Man movies. And this, it really understands like the kind of stuff that kids have been into for a very long time, broadly speaking, like Asian culture, right?
Yeah,
and sort of like spicier martial arts kind of content.
Well, and also like wacky cartoon faces for a joke, like happens so much. They squash and stretch so much in this, even more than like Spider-Verse had cartoony elements in it. Like when I saw it back in the summer, like it hadn't become a phenomenon yet. It's funny, in my letterbox, I go like, well, I don't know if getting released on Netflix is going to be better for this film than if it was in theaters. Now it's the biggest movie of the year only on Netflix.
Yeah, it just makes me think of how when we were teens and kids, how much they would try to hide the fact that things were from Japan. I mean, in this case, it's like very Korean, this movie. But in this case, K-pop is in the title. The word demon is in the title. They do a lot of Korean things, eat a lot of Korean food, don't feel the need to explain anything, and I love the confidence there. So yes, great music, great action. Story stuff, it could have been a little better, but I just like that they made this kind of a thing. And then just yesterday, I saw Chainsaw Man Reze Arc, which is kind of the new model for animated shows in Japan, where instead of putting a season on TV, we make a movie first, and then we chop that up into episodes and give you that later after the fact. And then we probably sell it in 2 different ways. So yes, this is the second arc of Chainsaw Man. I have not read the manga, but I found this to be a very satisfying movie experience. And I feel like this and K-pop Hunters are of a piece because people are both really into this. And then I see the trailer for like the new Pixar movie, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. But I'm like, you guys are still making this. Everybody wants K-pop Demon Hunters and Chainsaw Man. I know kids still want to make movies, but ostensibly you're trying to appeal to modern audiences. And I'm seeing more of that from these last 2 movies I'm talking about. But yes, the animation, amazing. I totally forgot what happened in Chainsaw Man Season 1, but you don't really need to know or remember that much because the story is very self-explanatory. But then the animation is astounding. It's like, it takes about half an hour to get to the fireworks factory, but then it keeps exploding Adjacent fireworks factories start exploding. There is a character with bomb-based abilities, so everything is just exploding constantly, and my wife and I got the D-box seats. Our asses were rocked. We were constantly being exploded by our chairs. I'm sure it broke up whatever kidney stones I might have had in my body, but when I see something like Chainsaw Man, the movie in theaters, I'm thinking like Disney, Pixar, all the Western companies are like, we can't make 2D, it's too hard, and nobody likes it. And I have not seen this animated spectacle on a screen in so long, and I know like Studio Ghibli still does stuff, but this is of a different flavor. And I'm so happy and feel so grateful that I'm able to see something like Chainsaw Man, the movie, in theaters.
Anime is finally like Japanese animated films, not entirely, but not every single one, but they are doing well enough now in theaters. Like the Demon Slayer movie, the most recent one, was like #1 at the box office in the US for a couple weeks. Like they're doing that well here, and it's such a great change. Like this is what we wanted to see growing up, and it's finally happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I see one of these movies in theaters, they are just as sold out as any other movie I see, which means half the theater is full. But it's not like in 2004 when I would see an anime movie, whatever ones would trickle over, I would be the only one in the theater with my friend, and that would be it. Now, like anime is so mainstream and it's so great because it's so accessible. Again, this is what people are into, and I'm glad that the studios are understanding that. It's like, here is the Chainsaw Man movie 2 weeks after it's out in Japan. Have fun with it. We've dubbed it if you want to see it dubbed. And by the way, this is the third movie I've seen in 3D in theaters, but the only 2D animated movie. And I have to say, it works astoundingly in that format. I never thought I would enjoy it, but that feels like the ideal format for 3D. If you're going to do it, only do it with 2D animated movies because it just pops so much.
Yeah, maybe I'll see that in 3D when I see it this week. This reminds me, too, I watched a really good... Animego has kind of rebranded or restarted itself under new management. And one of the cool things they do is they have a YouTube channel of just long form interviews with like the pioneers of U.S. localization of Japanese animation in the 80s and 90s. They just did one with Jerry Beck, and it's full of him talking about how hard it was for him to market Akira and other films in the U.S. and the pioneering he had to do for it. And he talks about how like he's living in the future he dreamed of when he was trying to import Akira, almost 40 years ago now.
It's a great place to be. And I feel like all of my interests are finally paying off now. It's like, wow, I was right to believe in this stuff, and now it's totally mainstream, and I'm glad so many people get to enjoy it. They don't have to go to Suncoast and pay $30 for 3 episodes. They can just go to the goddamn movie theater and have a great time. So I'm very happy about that. And like weirdly enough for TV, this is my wife's idea and I'm fully behind it. She wanted me to watch The Amazing Race Season 1, the 2001 television program. The Amazing Race, a very long-running popular reality program. She has gotten into it in the past, but this was a fascinating experience because I had never watched The Amazing Race before. I was very snotty about reality TV back when it aired. And it is really the last snapshot of a pre-9/11 travel world. So every Amazing Race to follow was post 9/11 security measures at airports. Here, you can just buy a flight wherever you want. You can kind of bribe flight attendants to like get you on better planes and things like that. It is just like a snapshot of the world before everything went to shit. And I love just how free everything was in terms of like, the world is our oyster. We can go anywhere. I know there were problems in 2001, folks. You don't have to tell me. But it sincerely was a different era, and it was fun to just see people existing in it in a very Y2K coded way.
Wow, what streamer is that like?
Oh, no, we bought the DVDs. And by the way, if you want to buy a DVD set of any reality show, they're all very, very cheap.
It's probably in the similar Simpsons zone of like, well, we printed 10 million of these 20 years ago, and now you can buy them for $5 pretty much anywhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I'm not saying you should go out and do this, but it was very fascinating as somebody who never watched the series and was always kind of curious, like, what is this exactly? But I don't know if I'll be watching any more seasons anytime soon, but it was really cool to see the show in that time period and also as they were figuring the show out. Like, the first season of a reality show is often the best because people don't know how to act on it. Like, once the first season is out, they're like, I'm going to be the new star of this show. I know what to do to become the star. So people are like really playing up their personalities, or they know how to game the system and things like that.
Yeah, like, I mean, that was the deal on The Real World after season 2. People were like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to be on the show. I'm the gay guy. I'm all these.
I'm the cowboy.
The cowboy. Yes, I'm the religious one. All those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, in terms of other things, I went to Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I was really mulling over a trip to America. I decided to make this my sole trip to America because I wanted to put on another show. and I wanted to maintain our relationship with Portland Retro Gaming Expo. This was my 10th panel at the show, and I have to say it went so well. Thank you to everybody who came out for it. I think it was our best attended panel to date, to the point where towards the end, it was standing room only. And I have never done a panel where people were just kind of standing at the sides watching because all of the seats were taken. So, yes, I plan on coming back next year. It was great. Had a great time. And I don't like to bring up negative things that happen on this trip, but this is such an extreme example I do want to mention. I get there Friday, just walking around after I get my lanyard, just checking out the show floor, and I see none other than Palmer Luckey, one of the biggest enemies of humanity, just walking around. Now, he's free to walk around. It's a free society, for him especially, because he's a billionaire. But he's one of these people where he becomes such a cartoon character where you never expect to see him in the wild. And then when you do, you're like, you do a double take. It's like kind of if you saw Ben Shapiro at your McDonald's, you're like, I can't believe this is a real person. And then you think like, and you're just allowed to exist within polite society. So I saw Palmer Luckey twice. And yes, the man has a demonic aura. And then immediately after I see him at PRGE, I see everyone sharing this weird clip of he's saying that we should all be breeding in our teens and be done by our 20s. And it's all about, propagating the white race, in other words.
In all the coded words that I feel the code words are dropping away every day. Like the Palmer Luckeys of the world don't feel like they even need to say like anything other than the 14 words Hitler loved so much now.
Yeah. So yeah, Palmer Luckey was there because he is behind this retro gaming platform called the Mod Retro. So don't buy it. There are other things to buy that do to support Palmer Luckey. But other than that, a great convention. I just had to point out I was within 2 feet of one of the most evil men currently existing in the world. And then I had a harrowing trip back because I spent an extra day in Portland, but I got like violently ill. I tested twice. It wasn't COVID, but it was touch and go for 7 hours. Will I vomit in public? And thank you to the kind people at Jamba Juice because I sustained myself on one giant protein shake for that 7 hours. Did not vomit in public, was moving the vomit bag closer and closer to me on the plane, but I made it home okay, and I'm feeling better now. But it makes sense. Like the fucking second I get to America, I get sick. Fix your country, America.
You're drinking that America water. Well,
yeah.
At least you came to Portland at a time where it's not like in national news or anything about things happening in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the concerns, and I'm trying to limit my trips to America. This is my sole trip, and it was for the sake of Retronauts, and I love Portland, and I did not want to miss doing another panel, especially our 10th in a row. But people were warning me. They're like, oh, be careful in Portland. There was no like military presence there yet, and actually customs went by very easy for me because I'm an American citizen. So some people were wary about going. I totally understand it. I recommend not coming to America if you can help it. But if you are, running a podcast and you need to be there to put on a panel, that's why I was there. But I really appreciate everyone coming out. You totally made it worth it. And the only downside was seeing a demon in real life and then getting sick. And I am associating the two. Yeah, I think he had some kind of evil chemicals wafting off of his weird mullet.
Oh, God. Was he wearing the flip-flops he so famously wore on that cover?
Flip-flops, Hawaiian shirt. He had 2, like, Palmer Luckey-style goons walking around with him that, like, kind of looked like him. So he could be making clones, as far as I know.
It's the very least in Saddam Hussein body double.
I could have said something to Palmer Luckey, but I just, like, the demonic aura kind of just threw me back against the wall.
Mm-hmm. It's yuck. Well, I appreciate that you suffered through that, though, for your audience there.
Yeah, PRG, don't invite him back. At least, like, ban him, because he's, again, enemy of humanity. We're going to find out more about that in the future. And then, Henry will be talking about this soon, but I will be going to Japan for 2.5 weeks shortly after this podcast. So I will have some adventures to talk about, and looking forward to that. We've been working ahead a lot to prepare for all of these outings, I guess, and the times we can't record, and then unfortunately, like, Henry got sick immediately after his trip. I got sick immediately after this trip. So we are like within a hair's breadth of being behind on things, but we worked ahead just enough where we shouldn't miss any dates. And if we do miss anything, we'll be sure to make it up immediately as soon as we can. But looking forward to my fun in Japan very, very soon. Okay, that's all for me. Henry, what's going on?
Well, in my gaming world, I was playing some fresh video games. I have played what I would call too much Hades 2 at this point.
Henry, I need an hour count because you told me 30, and I thought there's no way in hell. You have to be 3 times beyond 30, right?
I would call it 60 now. I would say it's at 60. I haven't, well, you know what? I guess you're my Nintendo pal. Maybe you could even see the hour count there.
I can check. I can spy on Henry's hour counts now.
But I am at I've done 88 nights in it, which that's each night is a run in it, if that gives you a number. And that's after I did 45 nights in the Steam early access 2 years ago. So I'm very close to true ending credit roll, which is, I'm not going to spoil things for people, but if you played the first Hades, you know how many times you had to beat Hades to get the credits to roll in that game. It's kind of like that. I love it. I love it more than the first Hades. The combat's even better. Story's even better. They have endless dialogue. I keep thinking they're going to have to repeat dialogue once at this point. No, they never do. I love Hades 2. I think I still love Death Stranding 2 more as a complete game I experienced, and it would have been my old school Game of the Year vote if I was still working at a website. But probably Hades 2 is the favorite game I've played this year.
Yes, I've been hearing nothing but good things about it. I think what makes it a little less magical is that a lot of people got to play it for a long time before the official release. So I saw all of the initial impressions a very long time ago for that early access release.
So when it came out in early access, I did everything you could do in early access, and you hit a wall, and it's like the game kind of tells you, well, more stuff will come later, but this is it. And so that's when I decided I'm not going to piecemeal this out over however long it takes. I will not play the game again until a complete game comes out. And so that is why I've gone hog wild on the Switch 2 release of it.
Yeah, I'm glad people are enjoying it. I have not touched Hades because I know it will suck me in maybe one of these days. I bought Hades 1 and realized okay, this is going to become a dangerous addiction, so I had to kind of shove it aside. So at some point, when there's a big sale, maybe I'll just grab Hades 2 and see what's up with that.
Nina does some wonderful Hades merchandise too. So I have a couple of it around. I would hope some Hades 2 merch comes in the future. And I also played a little bit of Ninja Gaiden 4, and I don't know. It's not hooking me. It's it's platinum in a good way, but it's still B+ platinum. And the combat, it has a cute gimmick to it of it kind of reminds me of Beautiful Joe. Oh, now you need to be in blue combat instead of red combat to hit this guy. That kind of deal.
Yeah, hey, if you want to play a good platinum game recently released, well, I guess within the past 3 years, Bayonetta 3. Nobody played it. Yeah. It's still hanging out there. You have it.
I didn't complete it. I should just finish Bayonetta 3. I got halfway through and something happened. I forget why I stopped playing it. But
it's very good. Well, they make you play with a character that has to parry a lot, and that can be difficult in Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden 4 kind of asks a little bit of that of you too. Well, also, it's one of those things where it's it feels like the good version of Yaiba. Remember Yaiba, everybody?
I previewed Yaiba. The Western-made Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, half Western. Though Keiji Inafune was the producer on it, but it was a Western developer, yes.
Well, then you can write it off completely.
Oh, it's trash. This is the better version of that, but it still is yes, it's in the world of Ninja Gaiden, and Ryu Hayabusa is cool. Anyway, here's the guy who's not Ryu Hayabusa that you're going to be playing as. It's okay. Maybe I'll finish it. I mean, it was a free game as part of Game Pass, which, yeah, look, it's gross. I'm going to let it lapse soon. I still have a year left that I already paid for, so I'm stuck in it.
Yeah, I just want Capcom to make a new Devil May Cry. 5 was amazing, and it's now been almost 7 years.
Meanwhile, the Xbox brand is basically dead now, I would say. They just announced
Halo. You would do best to divest yourself of that, Henry. I almost called it Master Shake. Master Chief is appearing on PS5 now. It's over.
Day and date PS5. The Xbox, if there's another... Oh, and they also launched that... Some of my favorite gaming content I've seen in the last month was people reviewing the horrible wannabe Steam Deck that has an Xbox logo on it.
Yeah, your gamer score will no longer get you into heaven. It's over. Those points are forfeit.
It makes me sad that Xbox decided they'd rather invest in AI and murdering children than good games. Yeah. So those were the major stuff I was playing this month. Movies, I know you saw this too, Bob. One battle after another. That's what everybody was talking about.
Yes, finally a hero named Bob in a movie. It's about damn time. That name has been played as a joke in so many movies, and I mean I know it's a pseudonym. That's his witness protection name, but still, it's a heroic Bob.
I'm gonna paraphrase my letterbox, but the last Paul Thomas Anderson film was Licorice Pizza, and I did like it, but I also thought man, it's this nostalgic thing. All the great directors of the 90s, all they do is make nostalgic stuff set in their childhood. He won't make anything now. Then he makes the movie that feels like the most now movie I've
Yes.
seen from a major director in a long time.
It meets the moment completely, and it was so great to see this with a packed house in Vancouver. Like, wow, everybody is on the same page with this movie. We're all digging it. We love the message, and it just is a completely rad thriller as well. On top of having great politics and great actors, it just is a great movie.
It doesn't feel like 3 hours at all. Like the chase near the end, like I was literally on the edge of my seat, like leaned forwarded enough to be like, oh, wow, I am doing, like, this movie has got me. Like, that's why I gave it 5 stars. I was like, I have been got by this movie. Like,
And, you know, if this movie had been made 5 years ago, I think Colonel Lockjaw might be a little too much for people, the Sean Penn character, but he's essentially like a Pete Hegseth. There are so many guys in Trump's cabinet who are just as cartoony as Lockjaw that it's like, well, this is just a real guy. And I love how someone compared him to George Liquor from Ren and Stimpy. He is like a live-action George Liquor. And it really plays into just how unhinged Sean Penn actually is.
yes, he's doing a great job as an insane man. I mean, yeah, all of the white supremacist America KKK stuff they have in there is like, you can't be crazier than real life. But like the guys they got to play the pigs in the movie, like they are good at being the like boxed face, banal, evil monsters that real life pigs are too.
And like the secret white supremacist societies, the Christmas Adventurers Club.
There's so much great stuff. Yeah, I really love that movie. And of course, who can't identify with a guy who just wants to sit at home all day and keep watching his Criterion copy of Battle of Algiers all day? Like, yeah.
Although, not to give anything away, the ending does say like, oh, elder millennials, let younger people take over now. Just smoke your weed and watch streaming.
If every kid was as good as his kid, maybe I'd feel more relaxed about it. Yeah.
My joke I put on my Letterboxd review is, I can't believe Colonel Lockjaw did all that just for a corner office at a racist WeWork. Not a spoiler. You're going to find out what that means as you see what his end is in the movie.
Oh, and also, like, Regina Hall is so good. Like, she's most famous for, I guess, the Scary Movie franchise, but she has one of, like, the most serious roles in the movie, and she is so good, as is Benicio del Toro. They're both
Yeah, and it really could, sorry to go on a little too long about this, but again, no spoilers. It really could be like leftist or liberal wish fulfillment, but I like how it accurately portrays things in that you think when the cops grab you, you're going to like spit in their faces and say, I'm not talking pigs, but everybody breaks. Everybody breaks in this film. And it's like, it's so realistic in that way.
You all want to tell yourself, oh, I won't break. The casting of who apparently it's just his real job in real life. It's why he is so good at playing the evil interrogator. That interrogator did scare the shit out of me. I was like, oh, this is how they break people. This evil monster here, right here. I also saw the film of The Smashing Machine. I really loved Uncut Gems, the Safdie brothers. I was like, oh, I'm on board with it now. They each made a separate movie this year. This was Benny Safdie's movie. And I had seen the documentary Smashing Machine many years ago. I had known that The Rock had been wanting to make this as his personal biopic for over a decade. I felt invested in it. Also, I was a viewer of these events live when they happened. But my problem is, I saw a lot of people really enjoy this. My problem probably is I'm too close to it. So when I see stuff in it, I'm like, well, that's not really how it happened. Or I think they're fudging this part, you know.
I didn't realize this was Dwayne Johnson in the trailer until like a couple minutes. I'm like, oh, he has hair. That's him. Okay.
Yeah. He shaves the Mark Kerr in real life. The guy's playing shaves his head at a certain point. So when he shaves his head, I'm like, oh, now I'm only seeing The Rock now. Like him, once the hair is gone. But yeah, it's all right. There's a turn it takes. The second half is not so good. But Benny Safdie does do a great job at making something feel. Uncut Gems felt exactly like 2012. This is set in like 1998 to 2000, and it feels exactly like that time. They really did recreate that era very well. I'll give it that. And then in TV shows I want to spotlight, I also have been watching all the new Smiling Friends. It's a lot of fun, of course. I mean, it's great. But finally watched all of Long Story Short, the new series from Raphael Bob Wassberg, the BoJack series. It's really good. It is about a Jewish family that kind of bounces around. They live in this Bay Area, and it bounces around in their life for like over 40 years of different things. Now, obviously, the main character of like a millennial guy who writes for online publications that shrink away, and he's now getting into his 40s.
Oh, yes.
Like,
I'm seeing born in 1982. Avi has an extensive knowledge of pulp culture. I wonder why Henry likes this show.
I don't know. And he has problems with his family, and yes. But also, like, the sister in the show, she's queer and lives in Oakland, and it has a lot of fun Oakland specifics. Like, it's full of great stuff, and it's not as depressing as BoJack. I kept waiting, like, okay, like a cobra about to strike. Something very sad is about to hit me, like BoJack. And I won't say it gets as sad as that. Now, there is like, oh, that's depressing, kind of just comes into it. But I give a big thumbs up to Long Story Short.
I didn't even know about this, and I wouldn't have known unless you talked about it on this, Henry. I guess there's just so much stuff on Netflix that it can get lost. They're never really good at promoting new animated series, especially if, like, Matt Groening is making one even.
They, at the very least, gave it... I can't tell if they really renewed it or if it was a 20-episode order. I bet it's the latter, but there will be more episodes next year. I give it a thumbs up. Also, especially... You don't have to have watched BoJack for it. If you did or didn't like BoJack, I think. Also, all the characters are human. It's not as abstracted as BoJack was.
How many funny sign gags are there?
Oh, there's a ton of funny sign gags. Yes.
I was not expecting any, but I guess it's the same tone.
And I've been watching the new Tim Robinson show, The Chair Company, which is basically what if a Tim Robinson sketch got expanded into an entire series, and it is about a deepening conspiracy growing out of one man's embarrassment of a chair breaking on him while he was in an important meeting.
No, I've heard good things about this, and honestly, I think, like, while you're on a later trip this year, I might finally watch all the Tim Robinson stuff. I've just been waiting for a time. I know I'll like it, and I see clips of it all the time. So yeah, I'm ready to finally embrace his weird sense of humor.
You will love I Think You Should Leave. I know you'll like I Think. Yeah, the Chair Company also has in it, in a major role, Jim Downey, who was like the surprise hit to me in One Battle After Another. He's one of the Christmas Adventure Club members.
Oh, it's that Jim Downey.
Yes, the Jim Downey of SNL, who just had a brand new documentary. That's pretty good. That's pretty good out there, too.
Listeners may know him as the quiz host in Billy Madison.
Yeah, that's his most famous role. I have forgotten that he did many of my favorite SNL sketches, but I mean the Change Bank, where he is describing how he would give change to people at a bank. That's one of his sketches, one of his best. I love that. And yes, I did just come back from Japan. I could go on and on about it, but Osaka and Kyoto rule. I love it. I did hurt my wrist, but otherwise, I had a good time.
We were using our Henry tracker, a.k.a. Blue Sky, to figure out what you were doing. And it seemed like when you were in Tokyo, you kind of fell off our radars. What was going on in Tokyo?
Oh, no, we didn't go to Tokyo. We only did Osaka, Kyoto, and Nagoya.
Okay, I was confused. Okay, so that was on me.
This was our first Tokyo-free trip.
Nice.
Yeah. We stuck to the Kansai region, and it was really good. Kyoto is more chill, and I really did like that vibe this time. And I could list all of the things we did, but just focus on, I did the Nintendo Museum, which you've done before, Bob, and it was great. I loved it.
Like I said earlier, and I did a whole Retronauts about this. You can look that one up. It does feel, at least on the first floor, more like a children's museum where there's like a lot of interactive exhibits. But the second floor is all the stuff you want to see. And there's all kinds of cool stuff around to get nice photo ops up. Did you experiment with any of the first floor stuff? I know you played the Love Tester game, which it was fun, but I'm like, well, this is an iToy game from 2005.
Yeah, but though it at least is like their history of Love Tester machines. Like,
you get to play their history. Now, did you do the Ultra Hand game?
You know, they make you be choosy with your coins. Like, you can only do so much. It was between Ultra Hand or the pitching machine. And I was like, I want to do the pitching machine. That was my pick over Ultra Hand.
If you ever get a chance to go back, do the Ultra Hand. It's such a satisfying grabber, the way it just grabs stuff. And I almost bought an Ultra Hand in the gift shop, and now I kind of regret it because I'm like, damn, that's fun. Kind of want to like just relax by grabbing the ball with the Ultra Hand.
That does sound good. I was like, no, I have to do the pitching machine because Rusty Slugger's Real Deal Baseball is one of my favorite 3DS games. I was like, I should actually play with the real pitching machine. And so I did that one. I did the Zapper game, and then I did the Super NES of the giant controllers. I did that one.
Did you eat at Hatina Burger, the attached eatery?
Yes, yeah, it was nice. It was nice. I had I think a chicken katsu sandwich, I want to say I had, I think. That was good, though. It wasn't as Instagram worthy of food as you got at, say, the Mushroom Cafe, the Mushroom Kingdom Cafe.
The interior is nice. It's not as themed as you would expect it to be, but it's still like a cool kind of motif.
And we made Hanafuda cards. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And they had one thing there that they had only just gotten. This was where it was driving me crazy. They don't allow any photos on the top floor area. And Bob, they opened up this, art section of a ton of their original art and design art. Here's the cover. Here's the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet art, and here's the original art for it, that kind of stuff. It was
and a lot of the art, was it painted on cells? It was originally painted on cells? Okay, I thought so.
They had the Fire Emblem box art, but I've been saving this to tell you on Mike Bob. This was the craziest thing ever I saw, and I Googled it. Nobody has ever talked about this. It's only been on display there for like a month, and I couldn't take a picture of it, so this is still going to sound like I'm making it up on the playground.
You're a liar. Go ahead, please.
In the Donkey Kong section, or the Mario section, they had 2 different design docs of like pitch documents for Donkey Kong versus Koopa, and it was Donkey Kong fighting King Bowser, and it said coming 94. Donkey Kong versus, like, it was a pitch for a Donkey Kong game for 94 that they would have done instead of Donkey Kong Country. I was like, I've never heard about this before, ever.
I would say that should be in a museum, but it is, so it should be online so I can see it.
I know. I was like, I have to take a picture of this. I was half thinking, like, they can't be watching me all of the time. I don't want to be thrown out, but maybe I can snap a picture. But I think that they are especially on guard of, like, you look like a nerd who'll try to take a picture. So I was always being watched by a docent.
There are lots of museum staff around
who are very helpful. But
yeah.
So yes, I swear to God, there is pitch for a would-be Donkey Kong versus King Koopa game that would have been released in 1994. I'm assuming for the Super NES.
I'm sure we'll hear about that in some Iwata asks, or Ask the Developers is what it's called now, within the next decade. It'll just come out. And
then a couple other animation things I did. I want to tell everybody, if you're in the Osaka area, it's about a 45-minute train ride away. But the Osamu Tezuka Museum in his hometown of Takarazawa, I want to say it is great. It is not enough people go there. It was me and like 5 other people in there that afternoon, but like it was me and a bunch of elderly women, Japanese women. But it is a beautiful tribute to his work, his history, original art's there. So many of his, and there's a full documentary you can only watch there about his entire life and career and how basically, and dozens, like full hours of testimonial from all these other important manga artists saying like, yeah, there would be no manga in Japan without Tezuka. Like, he's maybe the most important comic artist that ever lived.
So that sounds great. I had not heard about the museum. I guess I assume there would be one in Japan somewhere, but I did not know anyone who went to one.
It's full of great, there's even like an animatronic, a simple animatronic of Tezuka they even have there, but it's his caricature version of himself with his, big honker that he likes to draw himself. There's also one of his short films is on display there, The Forest God, that you've like, I've never seen it anywhere else. It's worth going just to see that. Tezuka comics do not pull punches, and neither does this animation that is technically about the history of animation, but also it is a brutal story about commerce destroying the natural environment.
Great. So, hey, it's a story that needs to be told. I guess it was made 40 years ago, but it's still relevant, right?
It was one of the last things he did in his life. It was animated in the late 80s, and there's a 20-minute epilogue to, or 15-minute epilogue to it that basically was, he did the storyboards for it and then died, and his son was able to make that like 15 years later. So it's kind of like, it's both a 1988 and a 2015 movie at the same time. It's
nice.
It's really good. And I went to Ghibli Park, not to be confused with Ghibli Museum, which has tons of recreations of scenes from Ghibli films, and that is just so, if you want to go into the real version of Howl's Moving Castle that is 1-to-1, it doesn't move, but is 1-to-1 scale of everything in Howl's Moving Castle, they've got it.
I'll be back when that castle moves.
You can walk through Kiki's actual like town. You can go into the building, the house where they play the violin, and that's the curio shop from Whisper of the Heart. They built the entire thing there, and you can play a violin in the basement. It's really cool. I got to watch a Ghibli short that you can only see at the museum or the park. This was Koro's Big Day Out. That's about a lost dog story. It's a pretty good short, Hayao Miyazaki 15-minute. But what's most interesting about it is that he challenged himself with, this dog cannot be cartoony in any way. So it is a flat-faced dog that only emotes in ways a real dog can the entire time, but it still works as a simple, like, a little girl lost her dog story.
I hope those are made available elsewhere at some point in history.
Only when he's dead, I'm telling you.
Yeah, as soon as he's dead. Coming to streaming. The Shorts collection.
So I give a big thumbs up. Ghibli Park and Nintendo Museum, Unlike the Tezuka Museum, those you have to get your reservations 2 months in advance, and they're only available for a tiny window, but they're both worth it. The Ghibli Park is, both are great, and definitely if you're in the Nagoya area, we took the Shinkansen for about 30 minutes up to Nagoya to see it, and we spent a little more time in general Nagoya. We'd never been there before either, so.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nagoya. Even though it's just a regular Japanese city, it's great to just be in a place that's not a tourist destination. It's like, okay, this is just regular people living their regular lives, and it's cool to just be among them.
And it felt fun in general. Like, I'm over 2 years into using Duolingo to practice Japanese, and I actually was able to have light conversations with like service workers or a couple other people to, like, if they ask me, where are you staying? How long have you been here? Like, I was able to answer them a little, and actually, like, when we went to, there was also a full-sized Eva Unit 1 that we saw in Kyoto, and I was able to take directions on how to do it in Japanese from the woman running it. And
that's great.
I would say I'd still would have scored a like 71% on it if it was a test, but you actually do feel better as a tourist if you're able to communicate a little bit and without having to pull out your phone every second.
Yeah, I mean, I have Nina with me, so she can translate, but I've also been doing Duolingo for 2 years. Now I'm going to be boning up on more like phrases to use in stores, but now I have fully internalized all hiragana and katakana, which has been my goal. So reading a lot is going to be easy, although kanji I'm going to need some help with. I only know a few kanji. Although I will say, I'm not going to talk a lot about my trip next month because it's not going to be very nerdy stuff that's going on. So you can follow me on Instagram as Real Bob Servo, and I'll be posting like at least like 10 pictures a day over there.
I look forward to seeing all your pics. We had a very weeb, as we usually do in Japan, trip. I went to Osaka Castle. I went to the Fushimi Inari Shrine. I went to a few other shrines, but I just wanted to talk up the nerd stuff for our listeners here.
Right. One thing I wanted to mention is while Henry was gone, this opportunity out of nowhere arrived, and I got an amazing caricature of my head done by the creator of the Star Fox and F-Zero characters, Takaya Imamura. And I recommend you follow him on Twitter. He is IMA_1966 because he has open commissions. And honestly, for a guy who worked at Nintendo for over 30 years, who has worked on some like very pivotal games, he is not charging enough for a caricature. But I was really happy, and I loved what he did to my face. I have the perfect foreigner's face, like a huge nose, a giant chin. Thankfully, like I've lost weight in the past like 6 months, so he really defined my strong chin and cheekbones. So I'm like, yes. It was all worth it to get the guy who designed Majora's Mask to draw my face looking very weird and capture every angle. So yes, please follow him on Twitter. Twitter still functions for most Japanese people. They have not left. So that's the one reason I'm still lurking. A lot of the Japanese accounts I follow are like, I don't care what happened. This is just where I post all my stuff.
I am still a Twitter lurker, mainly for news. The Chapo Trap House guys who haven't moved over to Blue Sky yet. And yes, Japanese artists are still pretty active.
Henry, you're a Twitter retweeter.
I do it quite a lot, yes. But
you're a serial retweeter. Don't be shy about it.
I am, but I only do it for the news stories I think are important, really, yes. Yeah, the fun things, that Blue Sky is where I still exist as a fun person. But yes, I do retweet pretty much daily on Twitter still. It's true.
So that is what's going on in our lives. Let's move on to questions and comments. We'll start with Talking Simpsons. The first episode was Bart Mangled Banner, and Rubber Cat says, I've come across an anti-vaccination meme of Dr. Hibbert holding 2 syringes from this episode. Quote, safe and effective is not a lie. It's 2 lies, but just the one. Image. I feel that there's more potential there. So thank you, Rubber Cat. I did not know about the anti-vax right-wing Simpsons meme world. I'm mostly used to seeing badly retraced image of Lisa in front of the projection screen in Bye Bye Nerdy, and there's an image that says like there's only 2 genders, or look into black crime rates and things like that. So That is really the platform for horrible messages, the Lisa projection screen. It's always weird because why would Lisa be doing this?
They give her such a mean face in it, too, in that horrible redraw. Though now, I swear, I only saw it once, but I swear I saw one of those Palmer Lucky types post a, like, Gen AI bullshit version of that. So it wasn't even the ugly retrace. Like, it was a AI slop spit out of that very thing.
Yeah, every time you see it, it gets worse. It's like redrawn or remade by a computer or recolored. It's just, thankfully, like now that I'm off Twitter, I don't really see that stuff anymore. In terms of like, I just follow the accounts I follow. Less people are on Twitter, so they're not retweeting horrible things they see as much. So I'm mostly out of that world for the time being.
And people on Blue Sky have kept more with the idea of like, no, we're not going to, there's not as much quote dunking on Blue Sky as there was on Twitter. That's for sure.
Nice.
Dennis K says on that same episode, your conversation about licensed music and home releases reminds me of how disappointed I was when the Super Mario Brothers Super Show got a DVD release. By way of being produced by Cyndi Lauper, the show had licensed music in every episode, mostly covers, but still licensed songs. All of them were gone on the DVD, replaced by a generic track. Mario could be kung fu fighting, throwing records at a hip-hop Koopa Troopas, or battling Robo Koopa, and the same generic track would play. Thankfully, I stumbled upon a YouTube channel that has all the original airings preserved a few years back.
Yes, thank you. As someone who has done a bit of Super Mario Brothers Super Show content over the past, 20 years of my life, I do know exactly what you're talking about. And the song they used to replace every licensed song is a sound-alike for Michael Jackson's Bad. It's very strange.
Meanwhile, we covered A Pup Named Scooby-Doo this month. They future-proofed it by being like, no, we'll just rip off the song now and make an original song and not pay anybody now. That's what they'll do. I think we did get a few comments on that, but it was very funny that we recorded Bart Mangle Banner like a couple months before it came out, and it couldn't have been more. We already were talking about how, like, boy, this reminds us of now in the news, and then many more things happened in the news after. Like, it came out after, like, Jimmy Kimmel got briefly canceled for over free speech things. It was crazy.
Yeah, like so much stuff has happened. While I was in Portland, that whole like Nazi tattoo gate thing happened. It's already been forgotten, but I did not have time to be on social media when I was there, and I was like, this will blow over by the time I come back and I won't have to think about it.
Too many things happen too much of the time now.
Yeah.
I'd say that I did think it was funny as we were posting Bart Mangled Banner that it's like, oh, Lisa gets locked up for free speech stuff and free speech couldn't be more. Though, of course, we mentioned that like, if you're not Jimmy Kimmel, you actually just get, sent away or locked up indefinitely without you say, perhaps people should have equal rights in a certain country somewhere.
And I feel like everyone has now moved on from the Charlie Kirk thing. I think that's another thing that's been forgotten. It felt for a minute, it felt like if you say anything about Charlie Kirk, they're going to come and put you in a bag.
Right. All things happen too fast. Like, again, I don't know. A third of the White House got torn down this week. Nobody cared. Well, nobody will care in a week.
I mean, I'm not saying I approve of this, but an image of right before he was shot in the neck is now a meme for someone like at a bad time in their life because he's looking very contemplative. And I've seen that shared around a lot as like, I spill my coffee all over my desk or something like that.
Everything goes very fast now. If 9/11 happened now, it would be like 3 months tops you get of like sadness over 9/11.
And then you get all the hilarious memes. So moving on to Lady Bouvier's lover, Sean Freeler says, Bob made my day when he said Fargo is more of a Brainerd movie. I grew up near Brainerd and now reside in Fargo, so I make that same point more often than I probably should. Yes, thank you, Sean. If you watch the movie Fargo, you do realize that all the movie takes place in Brainerd. I believe only the intro is that they meet in Fargo at that bar.
Yeah, Fargo's where they meet up. I say this having just watched it in the last month again. I think the Jerry scenes are kind of in the greater Minneapolis area, but
it's in a different state entirely, too.
Yeah, so it's like a chunk of it's in Minneapolis, but most of it's in Brainerd. The big arrest happens in Brainerd. The kidnapped person is held in Brainerd. Like, it should be called Brainerd for sure.
Now, this reminded me, I might have mentioned this on a podcast like over a year ago, but the words Brainerd and Minnesota made me remember that when I was visiting Minneapolis last summer, I remembered, we're in Eden Prairie. We're driving around, and I'm like, this is where they filmed Mystery Science Theater. And I looked up the location of Best Brains Incorporated, where it used to be, and we actually went there. Of course, Best Brains has not existed for, say, 26 years, but I was able to see, like, the giant building in which Mystery Science Theater was filmed, so that was nice.
Oh. Beautiful. If I was within 30 miles of it, I would definitely check it out too. That it does remind me too that in the first season of Fargo, the TV show, another Brainerd type town, Bemidji, is a major plot point in it. And I was like, I only know Bemidji because of like the second they say it in the episode, I'm like, I hear Trace's Crow T Robot just saying Bemidji in my head.
Yeah, we know so many towns from that area because of Mystery Science Theater, like Circle Pines.
Right.
Was a frequent joke. So, yeah. And, that was the comment about Fargo. You're up next, Henry.
Oh, yes. Dylan Sludge says on that episode, Bob, our paths briefly crossed indirectly once. I know the exact Duckman family sale you were bidding on because I too was bidding on it. Glad to hear it went to a good home.
I'm sorry I sniped that from you, Dylan. Honestly, it did not go for enough, but I guess the demand for Duckman is not there like it is for The Simpsons, although I still need to get it professionally framed. I think I'm doing that when I get back from Japan. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for too long, squished between two safety pieces of foam. So I can't wait to put that above our bar cart in the family room because that is the best place for your Duckman cell.
I have similar plans while you're out of town, Bob, to finally put up a few framed cells of my own that have been framed but sitting in a closet this whole time. I've been meaning to. You know, there just was, we talk a lot about animation cells with Toby Jones on that episode. Hey, by the way, AJ Goes to the Dog Park, it has a Blu-ray release out now that is full of the bonus features you want on classic Blu-rays. It's really good. But Heritage Auctions just had another run of Simpsons cells, some cool ones. Even the original Millhouse Butterfinger commercial, they had a couple cells from that. They all went for over $1,000. I didn't get it. I didn't even bother bidding on them this time.
Well, Nina and I had a conversation about this, and I've decided at least that we're going to have to get one soon because they're only going to be more expensive. We probably are going to spend over $1,000, and it is going to be our only Simpsons cell for the rest of time. So we have to be selective. But I think we have not seen anything where we had to say, oh, we have to get this immediately. So eventually, let's say before I'm 50, I will have a Simpsons cell somewhere.
See, I bought Homer's Jizz back when you could get that for only like $300 or something. Now it go for so much more.
You could flip
and
that
by
jizz.
That, I mean, yes, Homer's sperm under a microscope cell, guys. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's talk about Homer's Star Wars music.
Yes, that's right.
Seems like a mistake to me. Moving on to Broadcast News, Jonathan says, chiming in to say that Trump's tirade against windmills is made more amusing and horrifying when you know he means wind turbines. Windmills are not used to generate electricity. And yes, PG&E should have been forcibly taken over by the state of California instead of the state regulators allowing them to hike up rates multiple times per year, despite a huge amount of our power being generated by renewable sources now. Yeah, happy to not be paying California power bills. It's like, I probably said this in the podcast, but when you have hydropower, it is astoundingly cheap. I feel like, did they forget to bill us? I left my computer on all this time where we were running lights constantly. The TV's always on, but no, it's basically like a third of what I was paying in California. It's crazy.
Man. Yeah, no, the Washington state bills are not much better than the PG&E. But yeah, they added all of these renewable resources, but they didn't bring down the price at all on you. The price is still passed along to you.
I mean, hey, when all it does is rain in Vancouver, that's what it's doing now. They found a way to harness that to give us cheap electricity. And I say, good job, everybody.
That's nice. Stephen C. Nadell says on that episode, interesting that this season finale and A Natural Born Kissers, the finale of season 9, both took place during Marge and Homer's anniversary. But funnily enough, my life partner, the queen of the Harpies herself, and I got a sneak peek of this episode back in March of 2004. My boss at the time treated the two of us to a special live Simpsons round table event that included Al Jean, Yardley Smith, and shockingly, Mr. Grumpy Pants himself, Harry Shearer. Near the end of Yardley and Harry did a live reading of the scene in Burns' office. Seeing Yardley act out Lisa's reaction to the blood ponies was just epic. To show how thankful I was to my boss, who was really nice in so many ways, I quit a month later. I felt really, really guilty about that, especially since the job I left her for turned out to be soul-crushing mixed with a crappy commute.
Wow, I don't know what this event was, obviously, but it's pretty shocking that they would do a table read outside of the, Fox lot, and also Harry Shearer was there.
Yeah, I wonder where this in March of 2004, my first thought was like, oh, is this related to like the Actors Studio? But that was years before this, like the Inside the Actors Studio they did. So yeah, March of 2004, they must have just been like called in for like it has to be something with prestige, more likely in New York City, to get Harry Shearer to show up for it, I would think.
Yeah. Now, this is somewhat related to a surprising Simpsons Table Read event, but I was just at PRG, like I said. I was hanging out with a friend of the show, Maddie Kopp, great artist. Check her stuff out online. And David Hayter was there, the voice of Solid Snake. And she reminded me that David Hayter just recently tweeted that he was at the table read for Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2.
Right. Oh, my God.
He just revealed this fact, like, oh, yeah, I was there, and just threw that off. He's been holding on to that for over, 30 years at this point, and just decided to let that drop.
That is so cool. I had forgotten about that. Yeah, Maddie shared that, or you showed me that. I totally forgot about that. Man, Maddie must be like on first name basis with David Hayter now.
The baby did it. That's Solid Snake reacting.
He had to keep it a secret. Now, that's so cool that he was at that. Yes, I'd forgot all about that.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to What a Cartoon. It was all about a pup named Scooby-Doo. The episode was Now Museum, Now You Don't. And by the way, like we talked about the word nisemono, meaning fake in Japanese, and that comes up in this episode. Since we discussed that, I have heard that word so many times in Japanese in things I've been watching.
Oh, wow.
So it's sort of like when you learn about a word for the first time, you start hearing it everywhere. That's the same if you learn a word in another language. You hear it everywhere in that other language when you're watching that language's media. So Kay Lynch says, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo is a delight. Best DTV entry since Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, and Alien Invaders. Velma's crush is Coco Diablo, who is the costume designer behind all of their canonical villains. Really cute and clever, and the animation style is a bit more playful than these tend to be. Well, thank you, Kay. I feel like at some point we will visit Scooby-Doo for What a Cartoon, and we need another good subject, and this could be on the agenda.
Yeah, the recent Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo is full of, I only see it as posts of like the Scooby Sakuga, basically. I've been meaning to watch, honestly, it's almost the end of Halloween month, so a good time to watch the Halloween-themed Scooby-Doo, though, on my list of if we did another Scooby movie, it would be Witch's Ghost because I did love Witch's Ghost then, and who doesn't love the Hex Girls? I love the Hex Girls.
I'm looking forward to falling in love with them all over again.
And Luke Gordner also says on that episode, I looked it up. The Gary Coleman Hanna-Barbera show is adapting a TV film from 1982 called The Kid with the Broken Halo, where he plays an angel in training.
I hope Gary Coleman's halo is functioning today. You want to keep that in good shape when you're dead.
Yeah. So we were saying in that episode, like, oh, maybe, I don't know what they ripped off, but everything like that Hanna-Barbera did ripped off something else. And now we see, it was basically an adaptation of a Gary Coleman TV movie from the year before.
This is back when TV movies were huge. Maybe this got incredible ratings like the TV movie Brian's Song, and everyone remembers it from back then, but nobody remembers it today. So it was such a phenomenon that they're like, we got to turn this into a cartoon.
Or like, The Boy in the Bubble, like it's a gigantic TV movie. Or you watched it recently. I haven't broken on my 4K of it yet, but the first Spielberg movie.
Duel.
Yeah.
And like obviously Roots was a miniseries, but this was the era in which there was like event movie-length television that doesn't really exist anymore. I guess streaming is something like that, but different era entirely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So moving on to What a Cartoon Movie, our movie for September was the Lego Movie, and Ian Stratton says, the only person that was Oscar nominated for Everything is Awesome is songwriter Sean Patterson, even though it's also co-written by The Lonely Island and Jolie. I think the Oscars have a maximum number of people who can be nominated for a category, so that could explain their absence. It's why you no longer have 10 producers each getting an Oscar when a film wins Best Picture. Thank you for the clarification, Ian.
Yeah, it made me feel a little silly because I conflated, and I pulled it up just so I was like, wait, I didn't get this wrong, right? At the Oscars that year, Everything is Awesome was performed live, and both The Lonely Island and Tegan and Sarah were performing on stage. So them performing made me think like, well, then they must be Oscar nominated because they are performing the song right here, but not so, as Ian has let me know.
I mean, honestly, I looked up the songwriter and I had information about him ready, but I thought, well, this is already a 6-hour podcast. You have to make edits. At some places, you can't literally talk about everything, so I did not bring that up. But thank you for Ian clarifying this element.
Yeah, the Lego Movie, it was verging on being our longest episode ever. If we had called out every reference in it, because it's like Roger Rabbit. It is stacked reference on reference.
Oh, by the way, I actually saw Lego Movie 2, and, I didn't like it that much. Have you seen this one yet, Henry?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
No.
It's worth checking out, and there are some cool ideas in it, but this is I gave it 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so it's still like a valid, interesting movie worth checking out if you like the original, but it did not really measure up, and I'm not surprised it didn't do very well.
That's also too bad because the Lego Batman movie, the follow-up or the spin-off, was really great. So I had hoped 2 would be good too.
Yeah, I think the main issue is, I look at my review to remember, it's been a while since I watched it, but the main issue is, at the end of the Lego Movie 1, you then get the reveal, like, this is what this was all a metaphor for. This is what you were watching. Here's what was happening in the real world. Well, since that is established, there is no surprise in Lego Movie 2. It's like, it's the brother versus the sister, and everything in the Lego world is based on that. So you're like, well, I kind of know what's happening, and this is not as clever as the first movie because you've already explained it to me. So by necessity, it cannot be as interesting because we already know what this world is about.
Blake R. also said on the film, I saw a screening of this in the spring of 2015 when Lord and Miller were presented with the Tex Avery Award at the Dallas Film Festival. During the Q&A, I asked about the live-action sequence in the third act and the logistics of keeping that under wraps considering it is a well-kept secret from the marketing. They responded that Sony was very skeptical about keeping it in the film, so the two promised the studio that a CGI animated version would be created as a backup. Thankfully, the test screening of the film were so good that Sony was satisfied and agreed to keep the film as is, which worked out because Lord and Miller confessed to us that they never actually planned on following through with creating the animated version as a plan B. That sounds like the Lord and Miller way of production, for good and for ill, but I like them messing with Sony. In that
Yeah, all
story.
they had on the commentary was the fact that they were very nervous about this, the studio, and they didn't know if they'd be able to, justify this live-action segment. But yeah, I like their lies. Their lies got us the ending that we got.
Lord and Miller lying to executives to trick them into doing something cool, I approve. Them lying to, say, Vancouver animators about having to reanimate things 3 times, not so cool. I'd say that's
True.
not good.
Phil Lord made many a Vancouver enemy. We're going to find out if it was worth it. In 2027, right?
I think it's supposed to be by the end of 2027 now is the date for the third Spider-Verse, though. If that actually happens, I'll be very surprised.
Me too. Moving on to Talking Futurama, the episode was Benderama, and Dave S. says, quick MC Chris check-in. Like They Might Be Giants, he did indeed make a couple of kids' albums, but amidst other albums that are more in line with his usual output. He's still fun to see on tour and has a podcast with Dana Snyder where they dish a lot of Adult Swim stories and dirt. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, like when we did the C-Lab episode, I mentioned that I went back to check in with MC Chris, and I was thinking, well, this is a part of my early 20s. I don't know if I'll still like it, but I listened to his kids' songs, and I'm like, wow, MC Chris, still talented. I did not know about this Dana Snyder MC Chris podcast, but back in the day when there were no podcasts, I loved Dana Snyder's other podcast. It was called the Ken Petey Snidecast with Ken Plume, the great animation guy, let's call him. I forget what his actual role is in the world of animation, but he wrote the Big Venture Brothers book, right?
And DuckTales 1, too. I have both on the shelf behind me over there. Yeah.
But that was back when in the Wild West era podcast where you could just basically say anything and no one was being held accountable. And I do remember, very funny anecdote, Dana Snyder, he, at the time, was guesting on a Disney Channel show with a young Demi Lovato, and he talked about his experience there, and he called her a little C-word, but he didn't say C-word. He said the actual word, and I was like, whoa. Even in 2007, I thought, I wonder if he's going to get in trouble for this. And then it turns out he didn't, but it was a different time for podcasts.
That was, to get back to the Marin thing, that was the magic of podcasts back then, that people forget that they're saying a thing that can be recorded and make a news story back then. Like, did you just see it was like the 20th anniversary of the One Up Show recently as well?
Yeah, the video series. Weirdly enough, I never got into the video stuff. I was more, as soon as Jeremy launched Retronauts, that's when I jumped into the One Up, like, non-text content. But yeah, that was a very big touchstone for a lot of people, and a lot of, like, future gaming careers launched off of that video series.
Can you imagine a time when they invested in making like that? Well, that there was that much staff at a website, and they then invested in though even the One Up Show could barely exist for like more than 2 years before it got like killed by the system. Yeah, and
they basically invented that kind of content, or at least popularized it, or figured out the format. So we owe a lot to them for what internet content should be. I think it's not currently what it is.
Yeah, I think I mainly watched it as a supplement to all of the One-Up related podcasts I was listening to all the time, including Retronauts. So also on that same episode for Benderama, Eric Schumann says, "You better believe I've got the scoop on Young Fresh Fellows," a band who did the song in the cleaning section of the episode. Over the last 15 years, I've become quite friendly with Scott McCoy, lead singer and songwriter of YFF. Scott is perhaps better known for his time as a touring member of REM, along with leading other groups like the -5 and the Baseball Project. He is a key figure in the early history of West Coast indie music, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. As for why this episode used a cover of Rock and Roll Pest Control, I suspect it might have more to do with the sonic fidelity than clearance issues. The original track comes from the very first Young Fresh Fellows, which until last year had never been remastered since its initial release in the 80s. I interviewed Scott about the reissue, and he said that he was never satisfied with the album's mix, chalking it up to everyone involved being very young and inexperienced at recording. 40 years later, the record now sounds so much more robust, even if it arrived too late for this episode's Bender squashing montage.
Thank you for all the information, Eric. It's been a while since we recorded this, so I forget what we said, but I knew, this is the first time I encountered this band. I knew nothing about them. It just felt like, another interesting choice from Futurama, falling in line with these Gen X guys and their musical tastes.
Yeah, same with the use of that band from the previous episode, like this one. And yes, my guess had been that it was probably a clearance thing. They don't have the old rights to it. But I appreciate Eric's in-depth knowledge of the Young Fresh Fellows to let us know that it's more likely the band wouldn't license thing that didn't sound as good. Perhaps that was the issue for it.
And moving on, we have our final comments for Talking of the Hill, the episode Hitlenium, the great Y2K episode. And Nathaniel says, it's so funny how they shared that someone always has an end of days prediction every couple of years or so when this just happened. There was a South African pastor that started a viral trend prepping people for Jesus' return on September 23rd or 24th. Yeah, I'm sure these still happen. And I feel like the last time we had fun with this idea was in 2012. Remember that, Henry? When we thought the world was going to end in 2012, that Mayan calendar thing? Because of that, everybody got in on the joke. I had a Retronauts panel at PAX that year in 2012. That was the theme of my Retronauts panel, games about the apocalypse. Because LOL, it's 2012. We're all going to die, everybody. But ended up not happening. And actually, I think Roland Emmerich jumped the gun because he made his 2012 movie in 2009.
They wanted to be ahead of all of the pretenders who would copy it, I guess, the Roland Emmerich one. But man, you see, I didn't see that movie, but I watched the South Park episode making fun of it because, of course, climate change is insane and would never happen, as South Park so knowingly says.
I guess they eventually had to recant that after saying it too many times and then being proven wrong. But 2012, in that movie, I remember something pointed out about that movie. At some point, characters run down a hallway from cold. They're running away from a cold. From the idea of things,
boulder.
Instead of a fireball chasing them, it's coldness.
Wow, I totally forgot.
Well, you can't remember something if you haven't seen the movie, Henry.
I don't even remember people making fun of it. I think the last time I heard about the 2012 movie was because Jake Gyllenhaal was he did an interview and even he had to be reminded oh wait, I was in a movie with some actor. It was 2012. I forgot I was.
Well, I don't blame you for not remembering it. I only remembered it because of this apocalypse thing, and I think I had friends who saw it because one of them really loved Independence Day and they kept following Roland Emmerich throughout his career and kept being disappointed.
After Godzilla, I was I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
By the way, listeners, I realized right now as I was saying it, I was conflating The Day After Tomorrow with 2012. 2012 was the John Cusack one. Jake Gyllenhaal was The Day After Tomorrow.
And you know what? Those are very similar to the point where I think maybe in The Day After Tomorrow, people are chased down a hallway by coldness. It could be either movie, honestly.
Nathaniel's point about there's always an end of day prediction as he says there. It is a good thing to keep in mind when I don't know, the news every day makes me feel really awful sometimes. And so it's it just reminds it always feels well, this is the end. It's always felt that to humans all of the time.
Yeah, I think honestly a part of it is the idea is the world is not going to go on without me. It's going to end with me. It's no, we're going to die, and then everyone after us is going to make fun of us and everything we did. It's just the state of things. I'm sorry, everybody.
It's every doomsday cult ever, yes.
Yeah.
And our final comment here is on Hillenium is from Blake R., who says, I was lucky enough to see Robin Williams perform only a few years before his passing, and he made multiple jabs at Bicentennial Man as a significant low point in his career. At one point, he had an extended joke about a GPS developing a mind of its own, channeling through many different accents and voices, before trying to convince him he was so depressed that he needed to drive into oncoming traffic by goading him with, come on, Robin, I saw Bicentennial Man.
Hey, you know what? He was self-aware, and that's great.
Yes.
I think My Centennial Man came out when this episode launched. That's why this was part of the discussion.
It was in the history section, yeah. Also, to bring it back to WTF, Robin Williams' WTF was really great, but I remember Marin. This was also the cycle of Marin. Anytime a guest of his died, he would repost the episode with a new intro celebrating them. And the Robin Williams one, it's full. That in the comment is a joke about self-harm, and Robin Williams jokes about that a lot, which then made those jokes sadder after his passing.
Yeah, and it's like now been over a decade. It's been a very long time, and he was redeeming himself towards the end. Some of his later performances are great, and then hey, you can ironically enjoy whatever Dogs or Hogs he's in. Is he in the Dogs or is he in the Hogs?
He's in Dogs, not Hogs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's my motto: Dogs, not Hogs.
This bicentennial thing reminded me too that I've heard people bring up like the Asimov's laws of robotics with regards to like Waymos and stuff recently. And I just want to say that like those are fictional, aspirational things Asimov made up that he believed should be true were you to make artificial intelligence. Waymos or other self-driving cars have none of that programmed into them. Like the 3 laws of robotics, like they're fiction. They're not real.
Yeah, I guess we have 2 laws of robotics now. It's like rule number 1, make money. Rule number 2, flatter whoever is in front of you, whatever human is in front of you.
Yeah, whoever is asking for the answer, tell them what they need to hear. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I think you should. Yes, it's so the Bicentennial Man, I wish that they were heartfelt, overly schmaltzy robots played by Robin Williams instead of just a machine that tells me to kill myself eventually.
Yeah, I mean, in the future now, if you see like a gentle Data-style robot who's stroking a cat, you shoot him in the head. That's it. There is no common ground between us. We have to destroy these things.
We learned all the wrong lessons from that episode of Star Trek where Data's humanity is on trial.
It's like, Data, that's a great painting. Come this way, and then kablamo.
Oh, you have a functional penis, do you? Well, yeah.
Who gave you this? Big mistake. But that has been another talk to the audience. We're going to end on talking about Data's penis for some reason. But like an extra long episode because we had to cover the Simpsons movie. And it's going to be a great November, folks. We've got a lot of great content. I cannot wait for you to hear about Hollywood Dog. You're going to be tearing out your hair and running into the streets, wondering what you did before Hollywood Dog was in your life.
And we, look for our schedule for stuff. You're going to see all the cool stuff we have planned, including we have some really cool guests and even we like to do fun Simpsons theme episodes in between seasons. And I think we have a really cool one coming up next week. That you're
it's going to be a great one. You're going to love it. But yes, thank you so much for listening. Thank you if you're a patron. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you again next week for a new Talking Simpsons. We'll see you again in a month for another episode of Talk to the Audience. Take care.